that's what public art does. It stimulates conversation, and people are wondering what the heck's going on. They can engage, they can connect, they can ask questions. The thing I like to see is see little kids, younger kids come up and say, "Oh wow," and see their eyes kind of light up, and I'm an artist too. And I was like, "You're right, you are. Everyone's an artist." Find Your Direction came through a CDC grant several years ago, and it was specific for opioid substance abuse. And we took it to a couple of different communities and tried to provide them with some resources on, what that community needed to address these opioid misuse and abuse situation in their communities.
We started partnering with some of our local schools and developing focus groups. And through those focus groups, some of the questions were, what type of messages are you hearing in regards to substance abuse and underage drinking? And so we heard that they wanted to hear a positive message. And through that, we created DYD.
A lot of times you don't think about opioid misuse, in younger children, but we know as young as 10 years old, kids are experimenting with prescription drugs.
It wasn't really that big of a push back when I was in medical school or residency, and then after I started practice, of course, at some point, pain became the fifth vital sign. Through JACO, everybody had to have their pain treated, and the pendulum swung like crazy to giving everybody pain medicine, and then it's kind of swung back because we've realized it's not helpful.
And so that somewhat legitimized the idea that you could give opioids and strong drugs like that for chronic pain and really treat chronic pain aggressively. What we know is the amount you're prescribed early on, as well as the duration of time that you take it, really sets you up for becoming a potential chronic user, usually through no fault of your own.
I've probably put about 600 or 700 people in treatment. I get a lot of calls. And part of that is people they know I'll answer the phone, so that's a problem. A lot of times when someone wants help and they just keep getting voicemails or no return calls, it can feel very defeating. I hear from addicts and alcoholics all the time, they're like, why won't anyone help me? It can't be this hard to get help. So I try to always answer. Even if I can't help them with that situation, I want to make sure I connect them to someone that can.
One of the things DYD is engaged in is coalition building, right? And so trying to show people, communities, how to build coalitions so that they can sustain the program after we pull back a little bit, because our job is not to be there forever, doing these programs. Our job is to be there, do resources, train, and then let that community sustain the program. I would say that if you talk to almost any family, that they are going to have some experience with substance abuse, opioid misuse in their family at some level.
So I grew up in a good home. Probably if someone was looking on the outside, they would never have imagined that I would have turned out to be a, felon drug addict. But when I was 19, and in my early 20s, I started having some issues with my joints, and that's kind of really when my addiction started. At one point, I was seeing a doctor, and I was prescribed 80 milligram Oxycontin extended release. I could take, I think it was either 3 or 4 a day, and then I was also prescribed Oxycontin immediate release, which is, instead of it lasting for 12 hours, it acts then. Then I was also prescribed Percocet and Lortab for breakthrough pain, Soma, which is a muscle relaxer, Ambien, which is a sleeping pill, and I was also on Xanax and Klonopin, which are just all a very, very bad cocktail. Doctors wouldn't prescribe those meds now, or I think now if you tried to do that, it would raise some flags with the pharmacy. But I stayed on those meds for a very long time, and in the very beginning, it wasn't a problem.
We call it accidental poisoning is really the best way to think about it. And I think that is really the correct terminology, is accidental poisoning. I think the intent was good. However, I don't think anyone thought about the other side of the coin, which was the balancing measure for this, was how many people are we going to cause to become addicted or dependent on these agents, and what's the long-term effects and to society.
But the problem is now we have all these people that have been on opioids for 20, 30, 40 years, and then their scripts just taken away, and we're just expecting them to be okay, but you still have a dependence there. Because addiction isn't just about like all the other bad behaviors that go with it, it's more about the dependence that they have. They have to have the drug to function, their body needs it, and just, taking away their script isn't gonna cure them. And unfortunately, I have gotten many calls from 70 and 80-year-olds who, were taking 2 tramadol a day for the last 40 years and their doctor just stopped giving it to them. Well, so now they're in withdrawal or they're looking for, medical marijuana or, unfortunately even maybe using illicit drugs in order to not feel like garbage.
We can't have just a blanket approach. And I'm on the opioid safety committee, and we're working on the opioid dashboard so that we can let providers look at their own numbers compared to colleagues. And that will help us, I think, globally. We just have to be mindful of prescribing when necessary, but then not prescribing and deprescribing, which is very hard sometimes. And even though you've taken this medicine for 5 years or 10 years, the older you get, your risk goes up of having a bad outcome. So it's not like we're trying to be mean. There's good science behind getting off of opioids. And we just need to continue to do better as a group.
I think in terms of a public health wheel. And so in that wheel, 20% of a person's health is in a clinical setting. So people typically don't seek care until they need it, till they're sick. 80% of that wheel is your environment, is your social interaction, is your health outside of, a health setting. That's why our passion is public health and focusing on that 80%. And so the programs that we have, like Define Your Direction, or several other prevention type programs and social type programs, focus on that health and wellness of the individual outside of clinical care.
The Define Your Direction and the Chickasaw Nation and those other kind of prevention programs and public health programs are huge. They're very important. And I hope that state, federal, local communities will continue funding those kind of programs because they can only work with what they're given, right? But it's very important because our secrets keep us sick. We can't address things that we don't know about or understand. And I think there's a lack of understanding on what is going on. I think a lot of parents don't understand it. There's a lot of, well, that wouldn't happen to my kid, or, my family would never do that, or I don't hang out with those people, or nobody in my church would do that, or, my employees wouldn't do it, so on, so on. And that's stigma, right? So, because addiction affects everyone, it doesn't affect just those people.
Define Your Direction is important to me because I think of my own children and I think about their futures, and I would like for them to make positive choices. And so it's important to me for Define Your Direction to be established there and for these kids to start leading that themselves, learning from us and taking that to their peers.
Programs come and go. That's just the nature of how things are. But, by building that infrastructure in the community, by, planting those seeds and helping people to know what to do, training people and developing those youth, at a young age to where eventually they may stay in those communities, they may leave and go to different communities, but just providing that education and that infrastructure there for the future. I am so proud of the team. We really, really have a great group of people that work for us, and they have such a heart to serve and such a heart for the community. Their parents, their grandparents, their peers, they're just heavily involved, and they really care about what they do and care about our communities. And so, no surprise at all how they just really get involved and want to help and make a difference.
During the pandemic, I think we lost a lot of social support. And so, not surprisingly, illegal drugs are there all the time and are willing to step in and fill that void.
We've had to figure out ways to be still engaged without being, in close contact with people. And so, again, media, video, just even our murals and old school, right? Murals and billboards and things like that we really didn't do before. And so, different ways to engage the community without really having events.
I've been a artist for, well, my whole life actually, but painting better part of 25 years. And for me, this is my passion. This is what I enjoy doing. Not everyone can go to an art gallery or a museum every day, but public art is made just for that. You can take it in at your leisure. It gives the community something to be proud of, and that's what I want to do, is to be a part of the community in the sense that I'm Chickasaw and Ponca, so being in Chickasaw country, I have a vested interest in my community and being just doing what I can to be a positive, voice in that community. And through art, I feel like that's one way we can make that happen. So
that's what life is about. I mean, you take the good and the bad and you use those experiences to define who you are and define your direction in life. And so our focus is from 12 to 25. Through that time period, we've all been through it. We're growing up and we're making good choices and making bad. And our focus with defining your direction is to be that influence to show what happens when you make good choices. Not to tell people how to do that, but just be an influence there.
So we would like to provide opioid prevention awareness to our community members, teach them about that, help them make positive choices as far as activities that they choose to do, and support them in that any way that we can, and then have them share that with their peers.
We've got physical therapy, we're doing injections, we have orthopedics, things like that to try to manage their pain in ways other than just pain pills. We have the wellness centers where we can do yoga and where they can take classes and things like that. And any tribe, Chickasaw citizens, it's free, but if they have a doctor's prescription, any tribe can use that facility at no cost to them.
Every one of us has something that someone needs. And if we could all just embrace that and use everyone to help, we'd have a different society on so many levels, I think.
Sadly, the building that was home to the Brent Greenwood mural was destroyed during the April 27th tornado. A digital portrait in the Apila building of the Chickasaw Nation Medical Center serves as its memory. The Sulphur community is resilient, and there are plans to honor that resiliency with a new mural that celebrates our ability to preserve and rebuild.